Tuesday, the 12th of September, and we're open for business here on Channels Television. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the program. We're live to you from Lagos, the home of your news leader. Let's get started. I am boasting number 5. So the key question we're asking today is the Buhari's administration ready and open for business? Let's start with what we have in our headlines. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says the Cabinet, or the Federal Executive Council, as we call it in this climate, has agreed to the concession of the Abuja and Lagos International Airports. This is historic. This administration, privatization and concession, had taken the backseat of the Buhari's administration in more than 2 years of being in the saddle. Now, the administration is taking some steps in privatization and concessioning. The Murtala Mohammed International Airport is the oldest in the country, and of course is the most profitable part of the airport's business. We have here accounting for the majority of both cargo and the human flights of cargo operations and human flights. So now the Buhari's administration says it's ready to let go of this airport and concession it to private businesses so that it can be brought up to speed. This is one very major development in this administration. And of course, the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja also will be concessioned. We'll try to unpack this for you. Meantime, the Vice President went on to say yesterday at the quarterly business forum with the business executives, says, first, we want to do a general overhaul of those two airports. And of course, this has been ongoing since the last administration, and the current administration is trying to complete a few of those overhauling in the terminals and the and everything there, including the cargo areas. Then you have second, the Vice President says we want to enter into concession of the airports. These concessions will take a few months to happen. So, and of course, this administration has about 2.5 years, or less than that, to the end of the first 4 years. So, how soon will the Buhari's administration open these two airports to private investors to come in, both local and foreign, and give us more befitting international airports? That's the business for today. And of course, recently, the Buhari's administration also announced the concession of the Warri Port and the revocation of the Lagos Trade Fair facility concession, and also says is amenable to an out-of-court settlement of the ASCON. That's the Aluminium Smelting Company of Nigeria. Deal with the Russians. The company's name is Rusal. Then, of course, the privatization of the AFAM power plants 1 to 5. So it's a bit of a privatization and concessioning that this administration has been talking about in the last couple of months, the last 3 months to be more precise. On the back of that, in the month of May and June, there were 4 executive orders that were signed on the ease of doing business. So we're going to unpack Buhari if he really means business now that his tenure, the first-time tenure, is halfway to the finish line. But the key question is, what does change really mean? And that's the Vice President there, Osinbajo, yesterday, saying that change, according to him, according to media reports, is often slow. So you need to let that sink in. Change is often slow, but we must remain focused. And he says part of the problem with the change of this administration is that nobody is willing to report anybody asking for gratification. Now, that's a different conversation entirely. Of course, they have the whistleblower policy, but again, there were reports yet to be confirmed that gratification or corrupt practice is still ongoing, even under the current administration. So the Vice President says the problem is that folks are not reporting anybody asking for gratification. That's a very important conversation, if you remember the corrupt practices report from the MBS. Meantime, the Vice President says our work, that is for the administration and the agencies, is far from being done. It is a systematic change that is required. Now, one of the changes that we expect to see is going to be very, very tough. And that is coming from the Ministry of Finance. Kemi ADEOSUN was a little bit visibly angry or upset, very tough talking, and she read a RIOT Act to all the 36 states and the FCT. Yesterday says that the monthly wage bills and debt servicing monies by the federal government is about 700 billion naira every month. And then, so she says, the pressure on these funds that are needed to run the federal government programs is thinning out, so there's a need for an alternative source of revenue, and that over-reliance on federation accounts by state governments is now over. So we're asking this very important question. Is the Buhari's administration preparing the grounds to scrap the monthly sharing of federal allocations committee monies, what you call FAC? Is this preparing the grounds to scrap this arrangement? That's the question. We're trying to find answers to that, or just warning everyone that the money is thinning out. But, of course, is this a plan to scrap the FAC allocation? Let's get into the markets, everyone. Okay, so let's check through where the markets finished off on Monday, which was a negative reading. The stock market lost about 102 billion naira to start the current week. The market was shaved by about 1% because the industrial goods fell on the first trading day. You can see the numbers. We lost our 36,000, deep below that to 35,664.9 when the market finished off, and the market value down to the figure you see on your screen, 12.29 trillion local currency. Then look at the primary indicators in terms of trade. Well, of course, the figures, the numbers are green, but if you look at our daily average, the first bar there in terms of volume was significantly low, 114.76 million. We have an average of about 250 million transactions or shares traded every day. But yesterday was very significantly lower than our daily average. In terms of naira value, that's also down to 2.17 billion. That's where we shaved off more than 100 billion naira in a single day. Then in terms of deals, we're also a little bit down around 3,500 or about 4,000 daily transaction there. But look at where the market actually bled on Monday, and you can see for yourself. The banking sector lost 0.4%. Consumer goods followed in the red. The industrial goods suffered the most, 1.01%, and insurance just went with the banking stocks as in terms of financial services and lost 0.13%. However, the oil and gas was positive 0.68%. Investors moved the share price of Wando to the positive yesterday because of the annual shareholders meeting. Just about a minute or so, we'll talk about that annual shareholders meeting of Wando yesterday. But of course, we have a few green shoots in the oil and gas. But the oil and gas sector is still the underperformer of the entire market of the big five. Since this year started, that sector has been underperforming. The best performers year to date are the industrials, the consumer goods, and the banking. Even insurance outpaces the oil and gas because the downstream companies listed in that space were significantly lower year to date. If you put all of them together, both the big ones and the small ones, then you have the EMP. If you exclude Seplat and Owando, the oil and gas is in the red since 2017 started, and we're now in the 9th month of the year.